Hello, I'm Adam and welcome to the garden. And in our video today, we're going to be planting spring bulbs. The advantages of planting spring bulbs are endless. Firstly, they bring a bit of colour to the garden after those dark, long winter months. They also are vitally important for our pollinators in the garden, bringing nectar into the garden early on in the season, around February, March time. And there's so many different varieties and colours that we can choose from, depending on our own taste and the nature of our gardens. With me here, I have I have some daffodils. I also have some alliums and tulips, but I can guarantee you, whatever's your favourite colour or your type of garden, there will be a bulb that suits your garden as well. The best thing about planting spring bulbs is that they're easy to grow. And a general rule of thumb is if you follow the guidelines on the packets themselves in terms of the planting depth, you should be fine. And planting depth always varies depending on the size of the bulbs. But apart from that, once they're in the ground or in the pot, they look after themselves and they'll reward you with a wall of colour in the early spring months. So let's go and plant some daffodil bulbs. When we go about planting our spring bulbs, it's important that we ensure that the pointy end is facing up towards the sky where we want our flower to grow, and that the roots are pointing down. It's also a great time just to feel the bulb to ensure that it's plump and quite hard, because that's indicative of a healthy bulb. If you find that it's soft and squeezy, that means it could be rotting and you won't have great flowers from bulbs such as those. I've decided to plant my narcissus or my daffodil bulbs in front of the hedge here to look like a natural clump of daffodils. But when planting daffodils, the general rule of thumb is to dig down around 6 inches and then loosen the soil just on the surface so that the roots then can establish in the soil. A good rule when planting narcissus or daffodils is to plant them with a spacing of around 2 inches between them. However, if you'd like to have a great collection of colour or a clump of daffodils, it's better to plant them a little closer. But be mindful, if you do this in a pot, for example, you will need to empty that pot after a year or two to separate the bulbs so that they have enough space to regenerate new bulbs and new plants over time. If you haven't got space in your garden to grow spring bulbs, don't worry, because most spring bulbs grow fantastically well in containers. The only thing I would say to remember is to add a little bit of grit and drainage material into the compost just to allow those pots to drain well, ensuring that the bulbs themselves don't rot in moist compost. That's all we've got left to do now, is to sit and wait for that sea of golden daffodils at the beginning of February and March. And you won't get better than the colours daffodils bring to the garden early on in the season. I hope that's given you a rough idea on how you can go about planting your own spring bulbs at home. And remember, if you've got any questions or comments, please leave a comment below this video. Tan y tro nesa, hwyl am y tro.